Back to Daily Flash, I'm Mitch English. Much has been said about what it takes to really endure a long, happy marriage. But in reality, what if it requires those same skills that prisoners of war need in order to survive torture? I know it sounds crazy, but according to a new book, it's called Captured by Love, Inspiring Romance Stories from Vietnam POWs. It says exactly just that. And Greg Godek, he is the co-author of this book. He's joining us right now to explain. Thank you so much, Greg, for joining us on the show. But first off, how did you come up with this comparison? I know there's jokes about it, but this is serious business.
It is really serious business. Well, it started with my co-author. He's the POW.
Okay.
So he's the Top Gun guy.
Gotcha.
And I'm the relationship kind of guy. And over the years after the war, he and his buddies always had these annual reunions. And one day he looked around at the guys and said, wow, Jim there has an amazing marriage. They're 43. And Howard over there. And over the years, he just looked around and it just kind of clicked that these guys somehow created what he calls happily ever after marriages.
Yeah.
And so he and I were put together. And we did not start out looking for love lessons. We were telling love stories between POWs and their wives. And the love lessons kind of just dropped out on their own. And we, over 2 years of interviewing 20 couples, we saw these patterns in what people were saying. And,
right.
and for instance, it's like respect and celebrating people's differences. In the POW camps, these guys were in close quarters and in obviously very intense situations, and they had to respect each other. They had to just not only put up with each other, but actually celebrate their differences. And for instance, like the importance of communications. Now, it's kind of in general, people say that women communicate better than men,
Sure.
especially their feelings. Well, in these close quarters we're talking from 5 to 8 years of imprisonment, these guys had to communicate with each other. Otherwise, they literally would not have survived. I mean,
so Greg, you're saying that this is a skill that they had learned in an intense situation that has helped them basically for the remainder of their life. I dealt with this situation. I can deal with anything. I'm sure it's the basis of it, but it taught them intrapersonal relationships. You say in your book with those love lessons that it's not just romantic attraction, but it's also just kind of like learning more and more about those lessons in life. Is that like a launching pad for love relationships, right?
Absolutely. I mean, I was just amazed with interviewing the guys, their wives, that, remember, these are Top Gun pilots.
Right.
These are tough sons of guns and macho and all of that. And, being imprisoned, I mean, they were just, ground down by the communists at that time. And just surviving and communicating with each other. And I mean, they were all tortured at times. They were all just like ground down to nothing. I mean, crying and in intense pain. Mm-hmm. They took care of each other. And and not only communicating, but like things, laughter and humor.
Okay, I was going to ask that.
Kept
yeah,
them alive.
There has to be something that's involved with that. Like, how important was that? A common thread through the people you're talking to is that we all had a sense of humor about this.
All of them.
Wow.
All of them. I mean, there are stories of some of these guys messing with their torturers, like they were always trying to get information out of them. And some of these guys were like, they would say, okay, well, my father was George Washington, and he used to work on a cherry tree farm.
Sure.
And these guys, they would be writing down that as if this were important information. That one of the guys told his captors that aircraft carriers could travel over land. so that they'd better be
I
careful.
love that. It kind of it's reminiscent of Hogan's Heroes. I can kind of say and not to paint the picture that everything was like Hogan's Heroes, but that tells you how important that humor is. And I could see taking that into a marriage is like things are going to happen. We need to look at to be optimistic about all these sort of things. I understand that Gary Sinise actually read the foreword in the book. How did you get him involved?
Lee knew him. Lee knew him through some connections.
Okay.
Not my connection.
But
I don't know that.
it does give a lot of credence to the book, because I know that he is all about basically our veterans and making sure that they're taken care of. So it's a big name that you have on. It gives you a lot of credence to what you're talking about. What did you like? There's one aspect out of all of this that you had to have kind of said, if you could just spew it out to a newly married couple, what would you say that is?
Wow, newly married couple. Be yourselves.
Oh, I love
Don't. This is a little more for dating. Dating is not about impressing the other person. It's about getting to know each other. And once you get married, that the faster you can take the mask off and be your true self, the better off you'll be, and the faster you'll both grow together.
Yeah, I truly believe that, because it will happen. It's gonna. I just was married in February, and and I was married before that. Thank you for I was with my first wife for nearly 30 years, and I got to tell you, if I was more of myself, I feel like I am now than I was then. I think this is going to really help out so many people, married and non-married, just interpersonal relationships. Where can folks go if they want to get a copy of Captured by Love?
Anywhere, any bookstore, Amazon, on the street corner.
All right. Greg, I appreciate this. I take a lot from it. I appreciate our veterans as well. And what a great blessing for you, I'm sure, to be able to sit down and be able to hear those stories and get something so positive out of it. Thank you so much. The book is called Captured by Love. Go to powromance.com. Thank you so much for joining us, Greg.
Thank you.